Well, my top rated book on confidence is called The Super You. I'm sending it to you, physical book, free. Go to the link down there. You got it.
DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of this, give you a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy for you to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic: stop taking no for an answer so easily. Stop taking no for an answer. Now, you've heard people talk about how there's this person who never takes no for an answer, or a person who maybe in a certain situation in their life, they refuse to take no for an answer. Well, how about we make it into more of a normal thing, just a normal way of being where you don't take no for an answer so easily from another person, especially when you're taking it from someone who doesn't even have the authority or the power to say yes to you, especially from someone who doesn't even have any effect on whether you're going to achieve what you want to achieve or whether you can actually do what you want to do, but you got them telling you no and you're accepting it as an answer because of that. How about we just eliminate that as a problem? Let's get right into it. Point number one: if somebody said no, you haven't gained or achieved anything from them, right? It's you ask somebody for something, they say no. You ask somebody to buy something, they say no. You ask someone to get involved in something you're doing, they're like, no, I'm going to pass on that, which means you have nothing to lose in asking again, right? If you ask somebody for something, anything, and they say no, you haven't gained anything. They have not given you anything. There's been no exchange whatsoever except for you asking and them replying and denying. That means you have nothing to lose if you ask again. What's the worst thing that could happen? They're just going to say no again. All right, that's the worst case outcome, right? They didn't buy from you. They didn't sign you. They didn't sign up with you. They didn't agree with you. They didn't go along with you. They didn't get out of your way. They hadn't done that anyway. So if you keep asking, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. Now, that doesn't mean you just keep saying the same thing over and over again or keep sending the same email and hope that you'll finally get a response. You can vary up your actions. We're going to get to that in a moment. But just because somebody said no doesn't mean the game's over. It means, look, try again, ask again. Usually people don't try anything that they're trying to do in life more than once. People usually try things once. If it doesn't work, then they say, well, that didn't work. Or they say, well, I couldn't get the result. Or they say, well, somebody told me that it was going to turn out this way, so I might as well not even try. People don't go past that first try. Most people never go past a second or third try. Those are the exceptional people who do 2 or 3. The people who get what they want are willing to go, there's no number. There's no number on how many times they're going to try. And there's no number on how many different ways they're going to attempt to get to where they're trying to get to. Now, I want to give a caveat here that I've talked about in the last couple episodes of this podcast. Just because you heard what I just said does not mean you go just choose something randomly because it looks good, because you got that shiny object syndrome or shiny lifestyle syndrome, and now you're going to go try to do that thing even though you have no skills, no talent, no previous success in it, and it's not a natural inclination for you. Oh, I'm going to just go try to do this. You know, I'm 5'2", and I'm playing the NBA because, you know, I saw some short guy who was 5'9" playing in the NBA. Well, look, he got talent that you ain't got. So it doesn't mean you just go think that you apply this to just anything and you're just going to get the results because of that. Now, there are people you've heard of, and they're like, that people say, well, this person doesn't take no for an answer on anything, so I could just be like that and I could be successful too. No, what you need to pay attention to is the part that they didn't say, is that the anything that they're referring to with this person who doesn't take no for an answer is that they don't ask for anything anywhere. They know exactly what their lanes are. They know what works for them. They know what they're good at. They know what they can produce results at. And those are the areas that they focus on. Therefore, they don't accept no for an answer because they know where their focus should be going. You know where yours should be going. If you don't know, then you need to make some adjustments. And you have time to figure this out. And you go to DreAllDay.com/podcast. I have an episode that will help you, whatever your challenge is. If it has anything to do with the way that you think, I will help you out. Actually, with the way that you do things also, I'll help you out with it. See how many episodes we got, don't you? Point number 2. To do this, to be able to ask again and not take no for an answer, stop taking no for an answer is today's topic. You need material with which you can persist. You don't have material to persist with, then you don't have ways of asking again. You don't have a way to not take no for an answer because you don't have another way to ask the question. For example, when I wanted to play ball, I needed different ways to go about it because I knew that my first attempt or my early attempts, even though I hoped that my early attempts would get me signed to a team and get me a contract and everything would be, you know, happily ever after, I knew that that might not happen because of my background, because of my lack of resume, because of my lack of professional credentials. I knew I was going to have multiple ways of making this work. So I wanted to play ball. The first thing, could I say, hey, I work hard, coach, sign me to a contract? No, because anybody can say that. Next, I can say, hey, I love basketball. I've always been in the ball. I practice 6 hours a day. I'm all into the game. I watch video on basketball. Could I say that? No, because anybody can say that. None of those things would differentiate me. Are you noticing what I'm saying here? Are you reading between the lines of what I'm saying? Do you have anything else after that? Do you have anything else other than I love this, I do it all the time, I want to do it, I'm going to work hard, I'm dedicated, I'm loyal, and all that other bullshit? Do you have anything past that? If you don't have anything past that, you got a problem. Because if you get a no on those, now you have nothing left to say. You have no more bullets in your holster. I guess you could throw the gun at the monster. Hope that works. All right, and then you'll be dead. And then you'll be written out of the movie. So what else do you have at that point? You need material. So the material was, look, I played in this place. I scored this many points. I have this playing experience. I got a cosign from this respected person who you heard of or who you know. The more material you have, in other words, the easier it is for you to persist. Now, material can be two different things. I mean material both metaphorically, I mean it literally. Material meaning if you're a salesperson, for example, and you're selling some high ticket item like a car or a house, or you're signing people up for some big software package or whatever it is, you got to have different ways of closing that person, right? You got to have different ways of closing that transaction. So if they give you an objection of money, or an objection of I got to talk to my wife, or an objection of I don't know if my CFO or my CEO or my manager is going to like this, or an objection of I got to think about it, or an objection of we could do it next year, you're still going to have this product, right? It's still going to be the same price, right? Any objection that they're giving, the more material that you have, the better you can keep that conversation going. You don't want to get to the point where you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. They're going to be like, okay, that's all you got? Okay, I'm just going to stick to my answer. So you got to have material in order to keep that conversation going. And the other thing when I mean when I say material, is you got to have different ways, different methods of achieving your outcomes. What other ways can you go about getting this? All right, so you want to make this basketball team. You ask the coach, can you get on the team? Coach says no. You go to tryouts and you didn't make the team. That's another no. Hey, maybe you know the assistant coach. Maybe you know a player who plays on the team. Maybe you can go get on a different team, play against that coach's team. He can see you and say, oh, I didn't know you had that kind of game. Now you got a yes. So you got to have different material, meaning different methods of communicating, and also different methods of acting in order to get to the outcome that you want. That's what I mean when I say material. The more material you have, ladies and gentlemen, the more ways and the longer you can persist. And number 3, in order to stop taking no for an answer, which is today's topic, you got to be more than confident. You need more than confidence. Now, I talk confidence every day when we open this podcast, but to not take no for an answer, because sometimes somebody's going to give you a no and they really mean it. They really mean, don't keep asking me again. In order for you to keep asking again, you got to be bold. All right, bold is more than boldness is more than confidence, people. The definition of bold is showing an ability to take risks. Now, risk is relative. Some people can see it as a risk to ask a person again after they said no, after they said that's the final answer, after they said I'm not interested anymore. You got to be bold to keep going. I told you this story maybe 100 episodes or so ago about, man, what's this guy's name? I'm forgetting his name. Les Brown. Les Brown's a famous motivational speaker, black guy. He told the story of when he was a young kid, he was trying to get into the radio business for whatever reason. His mentor told him, listen, there's a radio station in town. Go to the radio station and ask the boss, you know the guy who's the boss, go ask him for a job. Les Brown goes there, asks for a job. He says, hey, I want to know if I can get a job here. The boss looks at him. The boss is kind of mean. The boss looks at him and said, no, you can't get a job. Get out of here. Kicks him out. Les Brown goes back to his mentor and says, well, I went to him. The guy said no. And his mentor told him, go back and ask again. And Les Brown kind of gave his mentor a double take, like, yo, I just told you. He said no. He said, go ask again. Go and ask again. So Les Brown shows up the next day. Asked the guy, hey, can I get a job here? And the guy says, didn't you come here yesterday? And he said, yes, I did. And he said, no, there are no jobs here. Get out. You can't get a job. Les Brown goes to his mentor. His mentor tells him exactly what he thought he would say. Go back and ask again. Les Brown goes back. This time he has some new material. He says, hey, I was wondering if between the last time I was here and now, anybody got fired or anybody quit and I could take their spot. Do you have a job here? And the boss looks at him and says, wait, you the one who just came in here the last couple days. No, nobody quit. Nobody got fired. Stop coming in here. Don't come in here anymore. You understand me? And Les Brown says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Runs out of there, gets kicked out of the building again. Les Brown shows up again. the very next day. He's still trying to get a job at this radio station. He walks in and he says to the guy, "Hey, sir, I was wondering if I can get a job to work here." And the big boss looks at him and says, "Aren't you the one who I just told yesterday to never come in here ever again?" And he says, "Yes, sir, I am that person." And the boss looked at him with these big mean eyes, and Les Brown's telling this story. He looks at him real mean, and I don't know what this boss is about to do. And the boss says, "Go get me some coffee." He said, "Yes, sir." And he was into that job. So you got to be bold. Now, how many people in that story, now I believe that story did actually happen. Les Brown told that story. I've heard him tell that story on stage. How many people are bold enough to keep doing that? How many people are bold enough to keep showing up after somebody specifically tells you, "Don't ask me again, I'm not interested, I don't want it, don't try again, stop persisting"? How many people have the chutzpah? Definition of chutzpah: nearly arrogant courage, utter audacity to keep trying to do what you want to do, to keep going after something even after you've been given no as an answer. See, it does not mean, when I say chutzpah or being bold or more than confident, doesn't mean to be rude, doesn't mean to be brash, unless that's your personality. I mean, if that's how you are, then be who you are, but it doesn't mean you have to be rude or brash. It means you got to believe in what you're doing, believe enough in what you're offering that you will stay with the situation regardless of the fact that somebody said no, regardless of someone's disinterest, regardless of someone's indifference to you or your situation or your product or your request. And you can't fake this. This is something that you cannot fake, which means, adding into all this, if you're not going to take no for an answer, you got to be doing something that you actually give a damn about, something that you actually care about, something that you are willing to persist on. See, these things that I'm telling you here today, you shouldn't just say, "I'm just going to persist on these things just because I heard Dre say it on a podcast, or I heard Dre talk about it on a video or on his fucking Instagram story." This got to be something that you give a damn enough about, that you are willing to persist because you give a damn. Not because somebody gave you some tips or some advice or some strategies to do it. It's because you care enough. What do you care enough about that you don't have to fake your chutzpah? You don't have to fake your boldness. You don't have to fake your confidence and not take a no for an answer. You need to actually believe in what you're doing in order to use this strategy. Let's recap today's topic, which is stop taking no for an answer. Number one, if somebody said no, that means you haven't gained anything, you haven't received anything, you haven't given anything, there's been no exchange whatsoever, so you have nothing to lose in asking again. The worst thing that could happen is that they say no again. Maybe they get a little bit annoyed. Well, listen, they might have done that anyway. They didn't do anything for you yet, so if they get annoyed, they can't take anything away from you. Point number two. To do this, you need material with which to persist. You got to have material as in ways of communicating and different actions that you can take in order to get yourself in the door or get your opportunity, or at least get somebody to even listen to you. The more material you have, the easier it is for you to persist, and the longer you can persist. And number three, you got to be more than confident to do these things. It takes more than confidence. You need boldness. Definition of boldness is showing an ability to take risks. You need chutzpah. Definition of chutzpah is nearly arrogant courage. Utter audacity. Does not mean being rude or brash unless that's who you are, but you got to believe enough that you'll stick with it even when you're being turned away. You cannot fake this. It has to be authentic. You got to actually believe in what you're doing to use what I'm telling you here today. If what you're doing is not something you actually believe in, find a thing that you do believe in and start not taking no for that thing. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.